Hello, and welcome to the North Debater. My name is Ivelisse Richardson.
And my name is Kennedy Lowe. I'm really excited about today's episode.
Last episode was all about how to effectively craft and use your narrative.
We had an excellent guest, Mr. Elijah Glenn of Elijah Speaks, LLC.
Today's episode will be one of the most local, topical episodes of the season. The city of Newark is reaching out, looking for qualified teachers for the biggest district in New Jersey. School population and class sizes are increasing drastically, so the need for more qualified teachers is more present now than it has ever been.
Teachers are incredibly important in the intellectual and emotional growth, development, and maturation of young people in the most critical period of their lives for finding out what their place is in the world.
A great teacher can mold a young mind by providing them the necessary information to motivate them to want to do better and better, year after year.
And sadly, just one bad or ineffective teacher can turn a student off to wanting to further their education past high school. So it's important that we take a look at what makes a good teacher today.
Today will be a student-led panel where we will have a fruitful discussion of what pedigree of educators are needed in Newark Public Schools. Over the next year, there will be a significant influx of teachers all coming from across the district. And it's pertinent that before they arrive, we make it clear the type of educator our city needs to constantly improve. If you enjoyed today's discussion, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/DonorDebater and share it with everyone and anyone who will appreciate the information shared by today's eloquent young panelists.
Join us in welcoming our panelists. Welcome to the North Debater. We're honored to have you here with us.
Hello, and welcome to What's Hot on the Block. My name is Taylor Vermont, and I will be your news anchor for today. Our first order of business is the following. Did you know that McDonald's is, according to CNN, removing all artificial additives? The article reads, the fast food company, which hopes to attract more health-conscious consumers to its drive-thrus and counters, announced changes to its most popular hamburgers on Wednesday. Its 7 classic burgers, the hamburger, cheeseburger, double cheeseburger, McDouble, quarter pounder with cheese, double quarter pounder with cheese, and Big Mac, will no longer include artificial preservatives, flavors, or coloring. The change affects every part of the sandwich, from the bun to the cheese, and even the sauce. McDonald's said it stripped components like calcium propionate, an artificial preservative, from its buns and eliminated sorbic acid, a preservative, from its American cheese. The iconic Big Mac special sauce is also being reformulated. McDonald's says it's removing artificial preservatives including potassium sorbate and calcium disodium. EDTA without sacrificing that signature taste. How do you guys feel about this? Should these ingredients have even been introduced in the first place? Next, chemical pollutants banned more than 40 years ago are still having a devastating effect on marine life and could lead to the disappearance of half of the world's killer whale populations before the end of the century. That's according to a new study published in the journal Science, which found that killer whales, or orcas, are at most risk from PCBs, which were once widely used as coolants and in the production of carbonless copy paper, before they were found to be highly toxic and carcinogenic. Production of PCBs were banned in the U.S. in 1979 and under an international treaty in 2001, but they are still in use in many parts of the world and not due to completely phase out until 2025. This has led to PCBs seeping into the oceans, where they are present a particular risk to marine mammals at the top of the food chain like orcas. Because the chemicals do not readily break down, the concentration of them builds up in the bodies of predators as they eat more and more fish are contaminated with these PCBs. For mammals, PCB contamination is intergenerational, with mothers passing the chemicals to their offspring through milk, and okras are the last link in a long food chain and are therefore among the most affected by this problem over their course of 50 to an 80-year lifespan. Researchers found levels of PCB as high as 1,300 milligrams per kilo in the bulbar of some orca. Studies show that just 50 milligrams per kilo can cause infertility and immune system problems. Next, a recent study by the New York Times suggests that those who are most distrustful of the news media tend to be the most biased readers. How do you guys feel about this? Is the media truly biased, or are our own biases manipulating how we consume the media? Finally, did you know that currently in Houston, Texas, a mom and daughter are suing their school district for expelling her daughter for not wanting to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? She claims that her being prevented from sitting is a direct infringement on her freedom of speech. Would you guys agree? Let us know at thenewarkdebater@gmail.com. Thanks for tuning in, and now back to our show.
Before we discuss questions, we'd like to tell some stories about teachers that were given to us by students. The first story is a general one. A student politely confronted a teacher in regards to their grade, and the teacher told the student that it was disrespectful to pester the teacher about a grade, because teachers, unlike students, have things outside of school that need to be taken care of. How do you feel about that?
Well, I feel like a problem with teachers is that a common problem is that teachers fail to mention that students are actual humans, actual people who have lives outside of school, and I feel like when teachers neglect that, it becomes an issue between the teacher and the student. So the teacher will put a lot of work and pressure on that student, not realize that not only do they have other classes that have priorities, but they also have things at home or situations at home or after school that they have to take priority over. So, and in another instance, we've got a story that a teacher basically skimmed through a textbook throughout the whole year, meaning that all they did was read through the textbook, read what it says by himself, and did not teach outside of that. How do you feel about that?
I don't feel like students really learn from just the textbook. I think that the teachers have to give their opinion, or give some background information about the things that sometimes isn't in the textbook, and students need that, the background and the connection, so they're not just memorizing things, but they're actually learning it.
And I feel like teachers who do that, one, they lack interaction with the students, meaning that they don't engage students. So I feel like a main part that a teacher needs to have is interaction with students, creating actual discussion, dialogues. And second, I feel like when a teacher does this, it perpetuates a type of space where they think that they're teaching because they're saying what's in the textbook, but in actuality they're actually not. So it encourages a space where they can just get away with not teaching and still just say that they're teaching if someone calls them out on it, which is so unfair. Oh, we have a response coming from the audience.
Yes, I wanted to interject. I just wasn't sure if I could. So yes, based on the textbook conversation, I do believe if we're just going to learn, the teacher's just going to teach you from the textbook and nothing else, then what's the point of that teacher even being there? You can just do it by yourself.
Yeah.
Right. They should add something in, and I know most teachers say this isn't their job, but making things more entertaining, more interesting will help the kids learn better instead of just reading something out of a book.
Actually grasping their interest.
Yes.
I agree.
Some teachers recommend memes or games and things like that. How do you feel about that? Incorporating more social media, more popular trending things, I guess, in the lesson.
That has been very successful over the years. Yeah.
And you get to have fun in the process. And I feel like teaching is really all about making topics, not just telling students the topics, but making topics more accessible for the students and making them able to understand those topics. So We have some questions that is directed for not only the panel, but just for everybody here. The first question is, how important is your teacher in garnering your interest in a new subject?
Well, for me, at first, like, unless that subject is like very interesting to me at first, the teacher is gonna be very crucial in like making me interested in that subject, because without it, like, why would I even care? Like, you need to like form some type of personal connection with me to make me feel like this is important, to make me care. What would you say about that?
I would say the same thing. I would say that a teacher, it's very subjective. Like, it depends on the teaching style, and the teaching style has to be interesting and engaging in order for somebody to actually take interest. Like, if you're just gonna read out of a textbook, like, you're not doing anything special or unique that can affect the student.
And then also with like students, like for me it's math. I don't see myself using math in the far future or in the near future either, right? So I need, like, when I'm in math, you know, the real life examples and questions, that kind of helps me a little bit. Or when the teacher, you know, explains to me what I can use that for in the future, then I pay more attention, because I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna need this in the near future, so, you know. Right. But otherwise.
Next question. Do you think it's possible to learn to the best of your ability with a bad teacher? Well, I'm gonna say this. I know most people, if not all people that I meet, hate math. They just hate math. I mean, I love math. What can I say? I'm a hopeless romantic. But I just love math. So I don't feel like I need a teacher in order to further my love for math. And I just feel like if you love a subject, then the teacher doesn't need to do something in order for you to still love it. Like, if it was a subject that you're iffy on, like, maybe the teacher can, like, bring it about you, because maybe you'll be struggling in that subject because of that teacher, and you'll get frustrated and you won't like the topic. So really, it really depends on the teacher and how much you like that subject. Oh, we have a response from the audience.
Alright, so personally, I think that no matter what subject it is, I don't think you can learn to the best of your ability, because teachers have gone through like an extensive level of education in order to be where they are, even if it's just like at the least their bachelor's degree. And I feel like in order to get the best out of your education, you sort of need that knowledge. Of course, there are like certain times where you don't really need them, because of course there are like certain things that you can use, like Khan Academy and such. But most of the time, it's like when you have someone physically there to teach it to you, and like it's tailored towards the way that you think, I think that's how you get the best out of your education.
We have an audience member, actually.
Superintendent Roger Leon recently has been proposing to get rid of a lot of state tests, but one of his major points is that though a lot of people in the public agree, there's no real involvement in local movements, and when these types of bills are being pushed, no one really knows about them. How do you feel like they should better advertise, or where should they be advertising these meetings so that the public can genuinely get involved? Since we know the public does care about these things, but there seems to be a disconnect in getting the message across.
Social media is definitely one of the best things for spreading messages. I feel like once they promote their page enough so that, you know, everyone knows that they have a page, it's going to be easy for them to spread the messages that they want to spread.
And also, I feel like creating like more of a homely, a hospital environment. Like, I remember the superintendent was talking about doing like breakfasts like every Saturday, and talking about like just problems or discussions that you want to talk about within the city. So I feel like creating that type of environment, it invites people more, and as opposed to like something that just is about just strictly like business, like you're just debating an argument. And I just feel like that hospital environment is also key into like opening discussions about this type of stuff within the city.
Next question.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you think Newark Public Schools going public with their search for more teachers?
I can't really add that much to this discussion.
I feel like what I can say is, it's a yes and no, because I feel like there is, like, it's okay. I feel like it's more important that we have teachers from actual Newark who really understand what it's like being, like, growing up in Newark, surviving in Newark.
So like the representation thing.
Yeah, and also I feel like that outside experience is good, but I feel like too much, it creates a disconnect between the students and the teachers. But we have a response.
I would have to agree with Aziz about it being like a sort of yes and no, in that like having a superintendent that was born and raised in Newark, he knows what exactly we need in order to make the school environment feel more like a second home that you learn from. And so I think that's like a good thing in itself, but I feel like also them being from out of Newark is kind of like a more diverse way of changing up the school, where it's more than just like constantly talking about what you already see around you every day, and it's kind of like branching out and learning about more than just like what's around your neighborhood.
So what's more important?
Honestly, I think that in terms of high school, or maybe like younger high school children, probably like because Science Park has 7th and 8th grade, maybe those that are younger need to learn about what the real world is first through what happens in Newark. Like having Newark teachers for them would be better in order to like grasp the situation around them while they're still young. So by the time they grow up, they're not like ignorant or naive about the other things that exist outside of our block.
And if I may interject, having somebody with the same, like a familiar background to the students, help the students, respect the teacher better, which, helps everyone in the classroom overall, because I know, for example, there have been new teachers as of last year that come from, other neighborhoods that don't particularly, mesh with the kids from this particular neighborhood, so it's kind of hard for the kids to listen to that specific teacher because they're not compatible, like they're just not the same type of person.
And also, I think this also leads to our biggest and our final question today. What topics are currently not being conversed in school that you feel should be conversed, and why? I want to add by saying that one big topic that is not being conversed that much is mental health.
Yep.
Yes.
And what I want to say about that is that, especially in my school, and since I've been here, this is my 4th year at this school, I feel like the toxicity in our school is at such a high that the fact that no one is talking about it is so detrimental to the students, to the teachers, and to just everybody in this school. The amount of expectations, the amount of stress, and I feel like it's not just the school, but I feel like the school adds a big chunk of it, and then in a simulation with all the other factors, like stuff that's going at home, your extracurriculars, like what do you do outside of 820 to 240?
It's not like that. And it's not just at science that we have mental health issues, right? So it kind of sucks for the kids at the other school that they don't have, and it's not at a lot of schools that they have mental health centers and things like that, or groups or anything.
And there's just a lot of things that go into play that causes students to feel like a sense of self-depreciation and a sense of self-hate for themselves. Because a lot of parents will just brush off their stress by saying that, you don't pay bills, you don't do any of that, so you don't have stress. So I just feel like that there's a lot going into a student's mind, because being a teenager is tough. It's very tough. Despite what you may think, it's very tough. And I feel like we need to have start opening more conversations. And I do agree with you, Kennedy, in the fact that science is starting to open up about this mental health, but I feel like they only did because we've reached a point that it can't really be brushed at this point.
Yep. Last part.
How would you guys feel about a system with no grades?
What do you
think,
mean by
no
grades?
grading system? You
Isn't
can't
that
get A,
like
B, C. It's literally a
Montessori
pass or
schools?
fail based on whether or not you know
That would be
the
much better.
content. And also, I think a relationship with the word failure. I feel like in the quote-unquote real world, there's more of a positive relationship where failure is just a lesson. It's more of a step in the right direction.
I'm
as opposed to something negative.
I'm stuck on this I never, what?
Yeah, there are schools I think where they don't give you A's. It's just
It's pass or fail. And it's
Do you
just
know how
wrong.
much learning would get done? What?
Yeah, you don't have to be worried, because frankly in this school, if you don't have good grades, you get bullied for basically, people think you're stupid. Like,
Yeah, there's like
Be frank.
a seclusion that happens if you're like, you quote unquote like dumb, like if you're quote unquote not getting good grades or stuff like that.
sometimes you're smart in other areas, sometimes you just don't
Yeah.
care. Like,
Yeah.
like I said, it's so stressful. Like, this whole pass and fail system, it will help so much because even kids who get like low grades, there's still the possibility of them barely passing. Like, and with there's no grade system, there's no D's or C's. It's just pass or fail. You either did good or bad.
And that's what I feel like school has become. It's just a place to graduate from so you can get that degree and go about your business. And I don't like that. I just feel like, you know, we don't really learn anymore. School is about passing. And I feel like without the grades, it will eliminate so much.
within
Wow.
other.
Yeah.
Okay, so I feel like that we've had a very critical, very deep conversation. But unfortunately, this time, that's all the time that we have. And we thank the audience and we thank you, Kennedy, and everybody here for the amazing and eloquent discussion and the panels that we've had here today. Thank you all for joining us and sharing your experiences.